Right, guys, as you all know, I've always shared my journey, the journey of our friends and family. And lately, we've been talking about opportunities. We've been talking about all the benefits that you get when you relocate to the diaspora. But guys, there's something that happened this week. There's a follower on one of my social platforms who reached out to me and said, why is it that you're not telling people the truth about the UK? That really got me thinking, like, what truth do people want? What is it that people want to know about life in the diaspora? So it prompted a conversation that went on and on and on, whereby people would compare and contrast, compare different countries, compare different journeys. And one of the things that went topical or that went viral on that post was the fact that, like, do we have anything to show for our relocation journey? So guys, this video, I'm going to share one of the reasons, or a few reasons, why I think we need to be kind to each other when we talk about relocation, when we talk about the diaspora journey, when we talk about success on this journey. One of the things that I always tell people that I share with is the fact that you actually manage to relocate, you actually manage to go across the ocean to get to the other side is success enough. After that, one needs to slow down. One needs then to take one step at a time. Also, one needs to stand guided. And there is a favorite blogger who I love to listen to who said, your success rate or how successful you're going to become when you relocate is dependent on the people that you meet first, in your first month, in your first week, in your first year. Those people that you meet will determine the success that you get. And trust me, I have learned that. I've seen that with my own eyes. Guys, a big welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to share some of the reasons why people take long to settle in, some of the challenges that people face in the diaspora that can actually hinder their settling in process, hinder maybe or affect the timelines in which they can settle in. So guys, sit and relax. And guys, if you're watching us for the first time, my name is Florence, and on this channel we do talk about life in the diaspora, life abroad. And today we are talking about some of the struggles and challenges. Of course, on this platform we do talk about success stories, opportunities, and everything else diaspora. So guys, let's get straight into it. So first and foremost, one of the biggest challenges if you're relocating or if you relocate that could hinder your progress is the lack of support from family and friends, or even in the workplace. I do remember when I was relocating and I shared with family and friends whilst I was still back home. I've never had so much negative feedback from my support system like that. The people that I expected to be happy for me, be wishing me well, started to question the whole journey, started to question my decision. But guys, it was too late because I had already made that decision. And I do remember some of the people I told them when my visa was already out. The least that people can do is at least like wish somebody well, instead of discouraging somebody and say, why are you leaving such a nice job for that? Is that why you're leaving? Are you sure you're not making a mistake? This will end in tears. Those are some of the sentiments that you could hear. And if you're a woman, I'll share this with you. If you're a woman, a married woman for that matter, the moment you tell family and friends that you're relocating, one of the things as an African woman that I got from nearly everybody was the fact that, do you know the diaspora ruins marriages? Do you know the diaspora is anti-marriage? Do you know that if you relocate, that's the end of your marriage? But guys, how many divorces that we know are happening in Africa? How many relationships are broken and people are back home? So is it a relocation issue, or it's a personality issue, or it's a relationship problem issue? Why is it that as a community we wrap everything in one blanket? We generalize things. We use one yardstick for all. That's our biggest problem. So once you're not supported from day one, even when you go through whatever that you go through, you can't go back to the same people that said this will end in tears. You have to push harder. You have to turn elsewhere for support. That is if you get the support. In the event that you don't get the support, that's where depression will sink in. That's where failure will sink in. That's where self-doubt will sink in. And if you are one of those who are not as strong, that's when you begin to tell yourself, the diaspora is not for me. I was better off home. I think I need to go back home. and I've seen people that have gone back home where you'd look at their situation and go like, if only this person had got support from the community, from family and friends, they could have done way, way better. They were better positioned for success if only this person had got the right support. I've spoken about family and friends. I will touch briefly on the workplace, because this conversation, I'm not wanting to blame other people for why people are failing to really hit the ground running or to really establish themselves in the diaspora from the word go. Lack of support from family and friends. I'll talk about us as the diaspora community in the workplace. One of the things that I got warned about when I got here, because I've got family and friends who are in this country, was the fact that never share anything with people from your home area or people from back home, or never share anything with Africans. Don't befriend people from back home. And I was like, I'm in my 30s. I'm a family person. Why is it that all this advice is coming now? This is advice that I never got when I was still back home, where we used to be like, oh, an all African team, an all Zimbabwean team, or an all one tribe team. The advice was never about friendship. The advice was never about relationships. But why did I get so much advice around relationships, work colleagues when I got here? I'll share with you some of the things or some of the reasons that I've actually come across and that I've actually learned and are discovering along this journey. I could be wrong, I could be right. We are, as a community, especially the African community, we are very competitive. And some of the competition that we have amongst ourselves with each other is quite unnecessary. If only we could understand that our destiny, our journeys are different. And there is nothing that can quicken success as supporting a fellow countryman, as supporting the next person. But instead, we compete amongst ourselves. Instead of complimenting one another, we compete, we gossip, we are jealous of one another. And obviously, those that are different from us will just look at us and just have a party or a field day with us. If only we could behave differently in the workplace. And one of the reasons why most people are actually saying, oh, the diaspora is not for me and are going back, is because it's quite difficult to develop those relationships in the workplace with fellow countrymen, with people that you would think, oh, so and so could relate better with me. Because we've become that toxic. We've become jealous of one another. We've actually developed that pull her or pull him down syndrome. We can only wish that we will become better. And one of the reasons why we're having these conversations, one of the reasons why I love to talk about these things, is so that we can realize that we are stronger together. We are successful together. Not when we work against each other, not when we compete against each other, but when we complement each other, we can do greater things. We harbor within us so much potential that when we come together, when we work together, when we collaborate, when we begin to hold hands and forge forward, what we could do would be amazing. What we could learn from each other would be amazing. Some of the things that we could point out to each other would be amazing, and we would be successful as a diaspora community. Guys, I think I've touched so much on support from family, friends, and the workplace. Do you know one of the reasons why people are failing to establish themselves or to really settle in the diaspora? These could be complicated factors around personal life. I'll touch on this because I'm a mom, I'm a family person. So I do understand, I've experienced some of these things firsthand. So I'm glad to share. Things like childcare, things like pregnancy, things like relationships and marriage and family issues can actually impact the whole settling in issue. This has actually just reminded me of one of the comments I got on my socials when I spoke. This is a very controversial issue, especially where I come from, especially in the Black community, but we will continue to talk about it. I spoke about me personally. I wouldn't miss an opportunity because I want to just be around my husband. And it's one of the things that I've actually made clear in our relationship, in our family, in our marriage, around opportunities. We are there to complement each other. We are there to encourage each other. We are there to push each other forward. If he gets an opportunity, I push him forward. I tell him to go on. I don't hold him back. And the same goes for me. But I realize the same doesn't go in so many relationships. It's something that I've learned. It's something that is a bit edgy in our community. I'll give you a few examples. When we came over, I know we had so much help and support when we were back home with the children. But coming over, and the unfortunate part is we moved to an area where there's not that much of a big African community. And unfortunately, again, we don't have family and friends over here. So what that meant was childcare was between the two of us. I've come across families, I've come across couples, I've come across families where they can't even come up with a working arrangement where they complement or they work around their children, because already between them they are competing. So that can hinder the whole process of settling in. I will tell you how we did. I might have shared this, but I'll share it again. So from the word go, before we had even actually moved over, after we had got our visa, we'd got our offers, we sat down and we spoke to each other and said, well, do you realize that whatever that we're going to do, we have to revolve around this visa? I have to fulfill all the requirements of the visa, which means whatever I have to fulfill in the work hours, I have to fulfill in the work rights and everything. So where that leaves you is you have to work around the children. You have to find that job that allows for childcare. He understood the assignment. As a family, we understood this assignment. But there are people, I was talking to someone a few days ago, and they say to me, oh, my husband will be coming and bring the children over, but they cannot entirely leave their job or entirely leave the business that we are running. So you have to come over here, leave the children and go back home. But knowing how it is in this country, I was like, straight away, this family is doomed. Straight away, this relocation journey is foiled, is a failure. Because how do you balance work and family without support? I know there are people that are single, and a big shout out to them. I salute those people because they've actually survived through it, and it doesn't mean it's easy, but they've actually found ways and means to manage, and they're managing and they're coping. I salute them. I salute their hard work and resilience. But where possible, where people are a family, where people have got partners or husbands or wives complementing each other, working together, could quicken their settling in process. Of course, I'm not saying people that are single parents cannot settle in quicker. They do, but it comes at a price. It comes, I know I've spoken to people that have actually made the decision to say, no, I'm going to leave my children for a while because I will not be able to cope. Because one of the things that are quite important is the fact that you cannot entirely rely on friends for childcare. I do not want to go into detail, but we all know and we have all been made aware of all this that's going on with gangs and grooming in this country. And that should get us thinking when we say, I'm bringing my family over, I'm bringing my children over. What are you bringing them over to? You want to be able to be in control. You want to be able to be there. So these are some of the things that can actually delay or hinder settling in this country. I'll go on to talk about pregnancy and relationship issues. I know a few people who, as soon as they decided, well, they were going to come to the UK and they were leaving their partner or husband behind, they were given ultimatums to say, if you are to go and you're not pregnant or you're not carrying my baby, then this relationship is doomed. I know we are socialized and groomed to value marriages. I value marriages. I value relationships. But this can actually hinder. I know a lot of people, you come to this country, you're expecting a baby, or maybe you come to this country in the first year, you have your baby. You got to have a solid plan of how you're going to take care of that child. You have to have a solid plan of how it's going to work with your employer. Because at the end of the day, the employer is worried about what you deliver in the workplace. Of course, they are bound by law. They're supposed to make it conducive and not discriminate against you being pregnant or you expecting. But we have to be logical and reasonable about it. This brings me to a story that I've been sharing with friends and colleagues. And I was talking to my husband about it to say, oh, it's coming up that time where we'll have to apply for our indefinite leave to remain in this country. We are a family of 4. Which means we should be talking about £12,000 for the 4 of us to apply. And the unfortunate part is, for us as a family, we came in the same year. So definitely we have to renew within the same year. But what would happen if we were to have another baby? I love a big family. I'm big on family. So it got us talking and thinking like, what's going to happen? It would mean like, obviously it will reduce our income because we won't be able to work as much as we do. Obviously it will increase our costs. Definitely. We are now a family of 5. And obviously when it comes to applying for indefinite leave to remain and other things, definitely that's a whole different ballgame. So a lot of people are making that mistake. I don't know. It could be a beautiful mistake, but a mistake is a mistake. So these things, they got to be planned. And where people plan properly, that's beautiful. But where people are being given ultimatums to say, for you to show me that you value this relationship or you value this marriage, or as a way or as a tool of securing or holding somebody down. Now that's something else. But it's happening in our communities. It's happening around us. It's happening between people that we know. And guys, if what I'm saying is true, or if you relate, or if you know somebody who is in that situation, please share in the comments, guys. So that's it. And I know I've spoken to people who, given an opportunity, the opportunity to move to the diaspora presents itself, but then the other person is not for that. The other person wants to stay behind, wants to do whatever that they're doing back home, wants to still work. People are being given ultimatums to say, if you go, this relationship is over. If you go, then you have chosen the diaspora over this marriage or this relationship. People are struggling. People have got that much burden within our communities, and that can actually hinder settling in. And in situations where people are given those ultimatums, in situations where people are involved in such, do you know some people are in, I don't know what sort of an arrangement that is, whereby they're constantly being asked to send money back home, just to try and salvage that relationship. But you're not going to save it because you're torn in between. You're working so hard, you're sending money back home, you're not even working towards you finding your feet or you then settling in. So that can actually delay settling in this country. Guys, we'll continue this conversation. Guys, the other thing that can hinder settling in, and I know if you relate with this one, just put in the comments your thoughts, share with us your thoughts. Let's keep the conversation going. I've shared my story where I said we borrowed from family and friends to relocate. We also had a loan from a bank when we relocated. So many people are in those situations where they've got debt that they borrowed so that they can fund their relocation journey. I am for people that grab opportunities. I would do anything just to fund the journey, just to make sure I've relocated, because I know where I come from. I know the things that I was running away from. But as soon as people get here, you realize the bills are there. You realize the money isn't that much. You don't pluck money out of trees. You have to work for it. You have to pay bills. And then some people, it can take them a year to actually repay all those debts, which means within that year, they're not even doing anything towards settling in. They're not doing anything. They're just living from hand to mouth. They're doing the bare minimum. Their life is just consumed with work, and paying off debts. So those are some of the things that people are not cognizant of when they judge and say they've been in the diaspora for 5 years and they've got nothing to show for it. They've been in the diaspora for this long and they've got nothing to show for it. This journey has actually made me realize there were times when we were unkind with our words, unkind with our thoughts towards our relatives who came over years and years ago. It's only when you walk in their shoes, it took us coming here and realizing like, okay, this is the reality. We work, we do everything that we can, but we can't even afford certain things. We haven't even bought those mansions that we thought we were going to buy when we come over. We haven't even gone on those holidays that we thought like, oh, I'll be going on holidays and this and that. We're not even using those iPhones that we thought like I'll be having the latest phone. We don't even put on those designer clothes that we thought, oh, as soon as I get there, I'll be dressing in designer. So those are some of the things that can hinder settling in. I remember, I think our first year in this country, half the year we spent it wanting to try and bring the kids over. It took us about 4 months of working and saving just so that we could bring the kids over. Right. After that, we had debt to pay, we had the bank to pay, we had our family and friends to pay. It nearly took us 6 months to pay everybody else because that was on our priority list. We had promised ourselves in the first year, we have to pay off all debt. A clear conscience would make sure that you settle in and you focus on other things. But there are people that can go for years and years. I do get to hear stories of other people. And again, circumstances differ. Thank goodness my husband and I both work, and we work full time. So we're able to put together the resources and say, we're going to pay off everybody. But again, prioritization is key. Again, working together is quite key. Again, being realistic and being truthful with the people that you own can actually go a long way. And a clear conscience and a clear priority list where you're taking off kids, they're here, tick off. Debt we have paid, tick off, can actually settle your mind, and you begin to see where your life is going, which equals settling in the diaspora. Guys, I'll move to the fourth factor that can hinder settling in abroad. Guys, there's something that's called black tax. I think a few months ago I was explaining to my colleagues what black tax is, but we all know, and I'll explain in this video again. Where we come from, or in our culture, family looks after family. And it's unfortunate we come from those countries and those places where there's no social care, there's no functional pensions, where if your parents are retired, then they get to enjoy their pension and it looks after them. You continue to look after the extended family. That's the reality of it. And it's not going to end because you've moved to the diaspora. It still follows us. But guys, nobody is cognizant of our different family dynamics. Other people come from very well-up families where they don't really have this burden, and other people have got a long chain of family and extended family that they look after. Circumstances do differ. So before we are harsh to judge people and say some people marombe in the diaspora, some people are failures in the diaspora, some people are destitute in the diaspora, let's be kind. Let's look at the dynamics. Let's just be kind to everybody. Before anybody looks down on somebody's journey or somebody's struggles, think of where they come from, the burden that they have on their shoulders, and then you become kind with your thoughts. You become kind with your words. I know people that look after their parents, look after their siblings' children, and their extended family. We come from different circumstances. I am no exception. Our family is no exception. But we embrace it, and we took it upon ourselves to say, this is what we have on our hands. What are our priorities? What are the things that we're targeting first? So it's quite important for people to sit down, plan together. It can quicken your settling in the diaspora. But for some people, they choose to face that alone. I'm not trying to give advice on how people should run their families, but I'm just giving you how our approach has been. So we sat down, we planned together, we listed down our priorities, the things that are important for us to do, where we help and how we're going to help. And that sticks and that helps. At least we are all in the clear of which direction we're pulling towards, what responsibilities we have, what obligations we have as far as extended family, black tax is concerned. I'll spend so much time on this one because we all have different ways of coping. But if you do feel you've got a way or you've got some input, please do put it in the comments. Please stay here because you'll be shocked at the last one. You will laugh your lungs out, but it's worth listening to. So guys, the fifth thing, job complications. We all know in every job, if you're watching this video and you've worked somewhere, definitely once you get engaged, there's a probation period. In that period, they're trying to see if you're the right fit, you've got the right skill set, you've got the right qualifications, and you're a right fit in that team. A lot of us overseas or us diasporans, people do struggle to fit in due to various reasons. This could be language barrier. I do remember my first appraisal. The feedback that I got from my manager was the fact that I don't speak. When I go to people's houses, I don't speak. Partly, it's unfortunate I never got the chance to explain why I never spoke. I couldn't hear a thing that they said. I had so much low self-esteem. I had so much self-doubt. I would look down upon myself. And it's unfortunate nobody really takes interest in understanding people's backgrounds. it's only now that I'm gaining my confidence. I always try to share with my colleagues how my upbringing was. That way they can understand some of the things that I struggle with, some of the things that are important to me. And also it gives them room and chance to know how best they can support me. But I was never like that in my first role. So a lot of people do struggle with that, language mostly, and also culture. There's this one bit that I always love to share wherever I go. In our culture, we don't look people in the eyes. But in this culture over here, you have to speak to someone and look them in the eye. That shows you're telling the truth. But where I come from, especially if you're a woman, you can't look a married woman, you can't be looking or staring in somebody's eyes. So it's different things altogether. It's different cultures altogether. And that can actually mess somebody in the workplace. And obviously, if you're not happy at work, because we came over to work, you're constantly thinking, I'm going to lose this job. I'm not going to become anything in this workplace. I'm going to get deported one day. So you never settle, you're jittery, and it can be worse. I've come across people that actually been doing the same things over and over again, but they can't get the hang of things because they're constantly worrying about, like, what if I get it wrong? What if I do it wrong? So that jitteriness, it affects their self-esteem, their confidence, and it just sends them downhill. So people will look at people and people judge and say, oh, they've been here for so long, but they haven't even adjusted. They don't know a lot of things. So let's be kind and gentle in our thoughts and in our words, in our support, to say, what is it that you're struggling with? Why are you struggling? How can I support you? How can I hold your hand? You can do this. So it's one of the things as well that people do struggle with, and you end up, like, some people end up not even wanting to pick shifts. Some will end up doubting themselves. Can I then move on to another organization? If I'm failing to cope in this organization, do you think I can actually move to the NHS? I get asked every time. Someone will go, you know what? I don't have that much experience. Will I be the right fit for the NHS? I've never worked in such an environment. Will I be a good fit? Because I'm always advocating for people to move to the NHS because of so many various reasons. I've done a video on why people should move to the NHS. So if you haven't watched that video, please go and watch it. Guys, do you realize that there are people who have lost jobs, who are on their third, fourth, fifth job in the diaspora? These are things that are not so spoken about. People are quick to just go, like, they've got nothing to show for all the time that they've been in that country, and yet they don't know the struggles. We are a generation that's quick to judge. I love this trending statement where people say, we listen, we don't judge. People have lost jobs. So I'll give an example to say, in this industry, the health and care industry, if one loses a job, chances are it's a gross misconduct. And the one thing that will be on someone's mind or at the back of someone's mind is, what if it messes my DBS? So people have come across such situations where they've been dismissed from work and their DBS has been messed, or they are in constant battles, constant whatever going on in the workplace. So those things can actually hinder settling in process. You're having to deal with regulatory bodies, you're having to deal with hearings and things, and these can actually affect people. I've seen people that have ended up with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and things like that as a result of this. And trust me, depression, mental health is real. I know people have to say black doesn't crack. Black do crack. Mental health knows no race, knows no color, knows no background. So no wonder why I'm always constantly reminding people to say, prioritize your mental health. Being conscious of your mental health is part and parcel of self-care, self-love. Last but not least, guys, in everything that we do, everything that we do, the importance of mentorship. You want to settle in quick, there's always somebody who has walked that journey. I do remember when I was moving over, there's something that my sister told me. She said to me, you don't have to invent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has been invented before. What you can do is just modify, tailor make it to suit you, to suit your needs, to suit your goals. So most people are making the biggest mistake that once I cross, I've made it. And they continue in that cycle where the fall of I know cycle. I'm sorry to have used that word, but I always There's a question that I asked when I started my channel. I asked a question to say, do you have a mentor? Do you think it's important to have a mentor? And a lot of people came up with opinions and everything. And part and parcel of why it's not common, especially in our African community, in our Black community, why people do not reach to mentors, why people do not reach to other people for support and mentorship, is the fear of like, oh, they will judge me. The fear of, oh, they'll get to know who really Florence is. Oh, they'll get to know my struggles. But trust me, there are good people out there. People that will hold your hand, guide you, show you how to do it. I'm not saying that person is me. I'm not. I'm also constantly looking off. What is it that I can learn from those that walked before me? I love being mentored. I love learning from people that have gone through the same things that I go through. They've walked this journey before. They've seen there's nothing new under the sun, says the Bible. So if we are going to succeed, if we're going to settle in and be successful, having a mentor is quite key. Acknowledging that people that have been here before us know better than us, are better experienced. They do say experience is the best teacher. So why are we as a community not wanting to learn from experience? Just approach those people that have been before and say, how do I navigate this one? How do I go around seeking support around children? What's the best way to really manage career progression or studying? What's the best approach? What's the best career pathway to go? I know, and when we seek support or seek mentorship, it doesn't mean we don't have our own plans, we don't have our own thoughts. You are going to get a different insight altogether. You compare it with what you have, or you add it onto what you already have, or you tailor make what you would have been taught to suit then your original plans. A lot of people do struggle. I do remember, guys, as I end this video, there's this one that always turns out for me. So being me, African as I am, Zimbabwean as I am, came over to the UK. And obviously, saving was a bigger part of my journey and my upbringing. So how do I save without even consulting or anything? We started this stokvel, this mokando. I don't know what you call it in your language, but where this month you're giving this person money, next month you're giving the next person. It's a good thing. It's the one thing that raised us. But does it work in this economy? Does it work in this community that we are in? Guys, that's a story for another day. That's a video for another day, where we're going to talk about our African ways of doing things and how things are done here and how it affects us and how we can correct it. Guys, this is all I had for you as far as some of the things that hinders settling in the diaspora for most migrants, for most Africans. And guys, do let me know in the comments any input that you have as far as this is concerned. Your thoughts are important. And if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you've watched this video and haven't subscribed, please be kind enough to subscribe to this channel. Guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.